Alright guys, this is Rooksandhooks on the Red Hot Porn correspondence website, and we've got a few games to go through today. If you remember a few months back, going back to March, April last year, we had some videos on my channel, and I haven't paid much attention to this online recordings, should I say. So what I'll do, I'm going to go through the games, quick analysis of what we can do, what we can play, and then you can throw some ideas if that's your thing. If it's not, no problem, just to promote the site basically. So I don't think a lot of people know about this as much as they should. So these are just random open invites I've sent. I'm currently rated 1301 on this. So we started off with a King's Gambit here. I think I played Bishop C4 last move and they played F6. So what's the purpose of Black's move there for F6? Because it's just weakened his king-side pawn structure there. And it's just allowing H5 and an opening for G6 and F7. So what have we got here? We can castle. Let me just go to an analyze. Hold on. Can I pause the recording? Network, internet settings. I thought it was connected, but just while that's doing that, back to full size mode and excuse me, sorry, and analyze. There we go. So we could castle. Maybe they bring the bishop here. We could block the bishop in. They would take. So we get to this position. If I just move that back. We're not going to castle. What's our other alternative moves? We've got knight to c3. They play the pin. Okay, let's not. Okay, we're going to castle. They take. We just open up the file for the F file for the rook. Obviously back up with the queen F1. Or we could in fact take with the queen here, and then that leaves, could play F4, and then if we throw a check in on H5, excuse me, sorry, if they play G6, for example, I don't know, what's their next move? Let's say they bring the knight here. We're here. Knight down here maybe. We've got a check. Just, you know. But they take with the knight there. So let's just rewind that. Okay, so they played F6. What else what's the best move here? I mean, we could play C3 to set up D4. We don't really want to take, because it just helps Black develop a D pawn or an F pawn, and then it opens up the queen's diagonal and potentially the dark square bishop, so it's giving them a tempo really. So we've got F4. We could castle. We could play C3 to set up D4. We could play knight C3. We could even play B3 and then propose bishop B2. Now, watching this chess video years back, and it says, and I learnt this when I was at Solihull Sixth Form with the chess club on a Friday night there. When you learn a chess opening, you should know the first 10 moves off by heart, instantaneous. Any opening, whether it's a London, French, Italian, King's Gambit, whatever, English, list goes on and on. First 10 moves, either side, you should know off by heart. And then when you get to your position, it's a case of studying that position for 10 minutes, having a look at the alternatives to your moves, etc. So, and calculating what we think the best move is going to be here. So we've named off 5 moves there. What about, we've got knight c3 to go on the outpost on d5. Is that a bit premature? f6 to maybe, is he going to come up with g5 after that? Right, we could play d3 because then it releases the bishop diagonal. So if they did take on f4, we've got the bishop covering it. So and it's just stopped their queen from getting out. I don't know why they played f6. Anyway, yes. See, if we play d3, it hampers the bishop a bit, because if they push d5, I mean, oh, actually, we could play b5 after. Let's go with d3 then. That seems a logical move. If they take on f4, the bishop takes. If they play d5, we take, and we take back with the bishop. So it's a nice outpost for it. So we'll go with d3 on that one. So we'll click that off. So just looking at that full size now, d3, submit move. So this is FOZ42 from Cuba, and I'll just show you the so we went e4, d5, e5, c5, c4, d takes c4, bishop takes c4, bishop c8 to f5, d3, and that's where we're at. So it was an unusual line because I played the Scandinavian and they refuted it, play c5, and then they played c4. So yeah, when the pawn's offered like that, I just took the pawn. So they played d3 now because this dark square bishop wants to come out to play. So what we've got to be careful of though is if we play e6 now, the bishop's going to get into a bit of trouble because I pushed the g pawn, come back, they play f4, then I've got to play h7, they can play f5, bring the bishop back, f4, sorry, bring the bishop back. So let's just go through that again. If we play e6, they play g4, bishop comes back, f4, after play h7, they play f5, we could take, or we've got queen c7 here, queen c7, so it's basically eyeing down e5 here. That's the purpose. So don't get arrows on this, but lifting the pieces like this seems reasonable enough. How do they defend e5 then? They've got knight to f3. They could play bishop f4. They're not likely to move the pawn again. They could play f4 even. So let's go with knight f3. Then we could play d6, e6, sorry. Maybe they're going to castle. And then we've got, see, we've got knight ge7 to come here, or to come here. We've got knight bd7 to potentially attack the bishop here this way. We've got bishop e7. We've got a6 to prepare for b5. But let's go back. Developing move. Knight c6. Then he's got a nice outpost on d4. He's got an outpost on b4. But then we've got this. So it has to come back anyway. So that seems like a more direct move for the knight. So there's a move with tempo there. We've moved one piece and it's got two moves, two squares that it can go to from. So it's attacking and we've got a nice outpost. So it's got a choice. So if we went knight c6, they're going to go knight f3. We could then back that up with queen c7. They need to defend. Okay, bishop f4. Could be castle long. Are they going to castle? Like this. Then we play d6. Knight c3. Knight ge7. To lie down g6 or come into d5. Simply because it's an outpost. We've already got control of d4. Knight takes. Pawn takes. Bishop comes back. Takes. Takes. And then we win a bishop. So that's d8 to c7. c7 d8. Hold on, I'm just reading off something here. Okay. So that's going fairly deep. So in that respect, just to go over it again, knight b to c6, knight f3, queen c7, bishop protects, d6, sorry, e6, knight f3, castle long, castle, knight gb to e7, they come in here, attack the queen, queen drops back. Yeah, so knight to c6, knight to f3, queen to c7, bishop f4, castle long, castle short, e6, knight c3, knight ge7, queen to b3, yeah, it's a bit problematic. That it's just this knight coming onto the b5 attacking the queen. That's the problem with castling that side, so that can happen. So we'll try and avoid that. So that's calculating what could potentially happen. But I do like knight c6 because we've got the outpost for d4 there. So that's what we're going to go for. So those first 2 games will be one video, and I'll label it the 2 players. So when the moves have been made, we can hop back and continue the story. So knight c6, submit move, and we'll see you next time for Red Hot Pawn, Rooks and Hooks. Come on down.